Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Welcome back to Game Over Toronto for the first game of the new year, 2023. Harnish and Fouad here with you live after what a breakdown of a game. What
I don't know where to start. First of all, it ended in the most riveting possible way that I like to enjoy hockey.
Shootouts!
Shootout.
Stop!
I'm so thankful that this has been the only shootout of the season, because not only have the Leafs always been bad at it, they suck.
Listen,
I mean, it's not a hot take. It's not
the
a hot
Leafs.
take.
The Leafs are paid to play hockey. Is the shootout even considered hockey? Like,
I don't know, man. It's like
what?
Like these guys practice a lot, and like if you've been to these practices, they do all kinds of drills, all kinds of know, different situational stuff.
Yeah.
Like how do you expect them to practice the shootout? Like how long are they supposed to work on these skills? Because it's not hockey. Like it's not
exactly.
Not the game.
And how rarely do they ever need to like go do that, right? How rarely are they Are they doing a shootout? It's ridiculous. It's bonkers. I honestly wish that they could have just continued the power play like they do in the playoffs, but that's neither here or there. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a bit. But in Leafs fashion, I mean, we're starting off the year with drama, right? We had everything and anything that happened all condensed down into one single game. If you want
New year, old Leafs.
Exactly.
That's what I thought about this one. That's the tagline.
We'll talk about it further, but let's give a shout out to Sports Interaction first. Think you know what way it'll go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pre-game, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 and older, and please play responsibly. Fouad, we talked about this being a classic Leafs game, right? I mean, we had
like the Babcock of 2019 type game. I mean,
Levo was part of that Babcock era as well, right? Our ex-Leaf that scored against us.
Oh my god, I don't know where to start. It's like, if you want to start there, I'm going to start there. First of all, I forgot that he played on the Blues, right? And I saw him, and I think in the first period he had a chance, and he knocked at it in front of the net, and it didn't go in. And I'm like, man, it's a good thing that didn't go in, because that would really add to the bit. And then lo and behold, he gets another chance, like prime downtown real estate right in front of the crease. And I'm like, I don't think there's anything like this in sports where where there's a running gag that holds so long, even for a good team like the Leafs, where an obscure former player scores a goal on them. Like it's mind-boggling. Leafs, at least hockey is a simulation.
Yeah, I mean, and then Josh Levo of all players, right? Like, I mean, how many goals has he had? Like 3 goals this last year. He's not playing well, but somehow, I mean, the Leafs get the best out of their ex-players, right? Playing like they did 5 years back.
I mean, listen, it was a good game, though. I mean, it was an entertaining game. Let's just say that.
I think they bounce back well. But before we get into that, I do want to shout out one thing. You're talking about Levo again, like showing up today, right? But the Blues have been pretty bad lately, especially with a couple of their good guys, the top guys out, right? Blues GM, right? Doug Armstrong, he called out the vets and the rest of the players right before this game. I mean, he said, like, we need more out of Saad and Shen, right? And talk about a comeback. I mean, these guys scored 2.
More out of Saad and Shen. That's what he got.
Exactly. The whole team just decided, hey, we're just gonna show up against the Leafs and just shit on our parade, right? It was insane. And just that second in general, I mean, 6 goals within a period, 3 goals within a matter of 1 minute. Anything that you shot was gonna go at the back of the net. That's exactly how it felt like in that second period.
Yeah, I mean, so it started off. I mean, the first period. Let's not discount. The first period was pretty awful as well. Like they were they were like all of us going back to work on the new year. Like today was the first day back for the work. They were all of us like before coffee, Like they
Yeah.
were like, damn man, we got to do this again. Jeez, okay. Like that's the vibe I got from them. And yeah, like I mean, after that Saad goal, where it was, I think it was a shorthanded one.
That was the
Sometimes
shorthanded, yeah, and that
that
was
was a shorthanded one.
also
Anyways,
on the when the Leafs were trying their 5-forward power play again. We'll get
yeah,
your thoughts
and
on
we'll
that
talk
one.
about that because it
Yeah.
did work. It did work in the end, but yeah, I mean that goal was a stinker. But as soon as I saw that goal go in, and I'm like, I have Harnish on the stream. I texted him. I said, get that damn sad banana suit ready because this one looks like one of those days. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, let's go to Samsonov. So we're getting a lot. I'm hearing a lot of Leaf fans, some in the chat as well,
Mhm,
talking about Samsonov.
mhm.
Now, guy's still pretty good. I mean, 9-0 at home. That's pretty good. Now to 9-1. It was
Yeah.
9-0 at home. Well, or 9-0-1, I guess. That's how the league likes to frame it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he had a tough time. I mean, he had a tough game. It's hard to deny. I think there were a couple of undeniably horrible goals, like that first
That
Saad
first
goal
goal, yeah,
that was bad.
yeah.
You can't deny that's a bad one. He'll tell you that one.
Mhm.
The ones that I did, the other ones like in that drunk second period were like, I mean, they were like right in front of the goal. Like they were the St. Louis forwards that were, whether it was Levo or it was Kyrou, they were pretty like unabated. Like they were in front of the net. So
Yeah, and there was
those are the
also
goals where I'm like, what's he supposed to do, right?
exactly, and he also took a few deflections. I mean, that second goal, right? That one that Shen got, that was a Kairu shot that hit off of Kerf, off of Shen, and then hit the back of the net, right?
Yeah.
So there's moments where you're like, hey, it's just unlucky situations, but I don't know. I feel like he should have had a couple of them, and I know they're difficult. They're difficult shots to block, but you kind of hope and pray that he can make one miracle or pull one goal back, right? And think about it here, right? If he was able to stop, let's say, just one extra goal, right? Make one fantastic save. We don't go to
Yeah.
OT. We don't go to the shootout, and we come out of here with 2 points, right? We keep the streak winning at home alive. I think it's like before this game, it was like 6 home games in a row or something like that.
Yeah, another streak. It's a pretty crazy streak. Like the broadcast is really good. Like Chris Cuthbert and them, they give some good material for us.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
the Leafs won 21 consecutive games, scoring 4+ goals. So that's not an insignificant number. Obviously, that means that their defense, when they have had those offensive explosions, the defense has also been there.
Yeah.
In this one, not so much. I mean, but yeah, with Samsonov, yeah, he was a little bit. Aside from that, like you did notice, he was a bit late reacting to almost everything. Like I felt like the brain kind of commuted like a second late on almost all the goals. Was kind of like he was always out of position.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on him over the last couple of games in particular, because I mean, after he came back from injury, he looked fantastic, right?
Yeah.
He got that, or he was at like a .937 or something since in November, and then he had the 2 back-to-back shutouts as well. But the last couple of games, I mean, we're looking at a .821, then the next
Yeah.
game .842, .882, and so on and so forth, right? He's not looking the best these last couple of games, and I know it's a small sample size, and he looked
Yeah.
phenomenal before that. But we also have to keep in understand, like, or take in the context that he is like around a .9, just a standard .9 save percentage goalie in his career, right? So he kind of is playing above expectations or above his norm this year, especially, right? So it's kind of difficult where you don't know if he's kind of just coming back down to earth, or if it's just
Yeah.
a couple games where he's having a bad stretch. And I mean, everyone has those bad stretches, right?
Yeah, you said. I mean, the operative term there is the last couple of games, right? So a couple of
Mhm.
games does not make the player. But yeah, I mean, I guess you don't want to have your standards too high, where it's like, you know, obviously he's put up some banger performances, but you know, I mean, this is hard for us Leaf fans because we get excited really easily. But someone like Samsonov, yeah, I mean, he was a high pick in the draft for a goalie, but he was non-tendered by the Capitals, so it's like, not to say that was the right move, but he's not a perfect goalie. Like he is not prime Carey Price, right?
Mhm.
He is a guy that has question marks. So to expect some games where there to be lulls or where there's going to be a tough stretch, I think that's reasonable, and I don't think that's a reason to panic. But like everybody else, if the trend continues, we'll revisit that. I know it's not a scorching hot take to where I'm like, trade him right now. But sometimes it's good to I try to err on the side of nuance
No, I
with that.
definitely,
But
I definitely
yeah,
agree, and I think it was good on Keefe today, to keep him in the game, right? He could have
yeah,
easily, after that second period,
huge.
I mean, a ton of people, I'm sure a ton of people in the comments as well, right? They were probably calling for Matt Murray to be thrown in there, right? Just pull Samsonov
No,
altogether. But you got to understand, like,
mm,
confidence plays a large factor in players, right? And you
especially
don't want
goalies,
to, especially goals and
especially
like
goalies.
and Samsonov too, right? In particular.
Yeah,
Um, I would have hated to see him get pulled and then come back the next game, be a little shaky again because he has the nerves, right? You got to instill some confidence in your players. He had some great games just like a couple weeks back as well, right? So I'm happy that Keith kept him in there. Just let him play it through. The next game, it's a new slate.
yeah.
Let him be him, right?
Also, Matt Murray, people calling for Matt Murray to be put in. You realize that this guy is kind of an injury risk. It is a Tuesday game against the Blues, so it's like you know, let's not deviate. I think honestly, in my opinion, if it was like 9-1, I even maybe then I would think about it. But like with someone like Matt Murray, I don't want to upset that regimen, that rest, at that like whatever they're doing to keep his body right. I don't care. It's like sync the game. Like I,
Just load manage him to hell.
that's what I'm saying. Like
All the way to the
sometimes,
playoffs.
like I get it. Like okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but at some point you can't just go ahead and just throw them in there. It's not. I mean, it's not to say every game is significant, but some games are like, okay, let's let Samsonov ride this out, and he did. He
Yeah.
he made some big saves in the overtime. I think people are kind of forgetting about that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he clutched it up. Even in the third, right? I mean, he had a shaky second. The third, especially at the end there, he had a couple good saves there as well, right? So yeah, I mean, to your point, he definitely did bounce back a little bit there.
yeah, yeah. I think he'll be fine. I understand why Leaf fans are on serious edge about the goaltending because that was one of the reasons why we tell ourselves this year is different.
Hmm.
Okay, because you know at the same season we were absolutely tearing through the regular season last year, but no, this season we're like, oh, but this year we have goalies. Last season, obviously, goaltending was um, horrible, right? Like
Yeah.
we we definitely improved in that department. But I think the second a lot of Leaf fans see a bit of slippage with the goaltending, they're like, oh, this is, like it's over.
Yeah, this is the same thing that happened in back in September where everyone was calling for Dubas's head, Keefe's head, just trade our core, just
I
it's
mean,
overreactionary,
to be
right?
fair,
But
that kind of justified because they're playing absolutely terrible at
listen,
time. But
this is the second year in a row. I'm used to it now. If they do it next year, I'll be used to. I'll still be angry, but I'll be
yeah,
used to it.
yeah, yeah. So again, and I think I've said this, but I think I've said this exact same sentence before.
Mhm,
But you know, sticking with the positive side,
mhm.
Michael Bunting. Okay, Michael Bunting. I said this to Lauren. I want to see what you guys have, what you think.
Uh-huh.
Is he not the best signing or the best move that Kyle Dubas has made? I mean, John Tavares aside, because John Tavares was kind of.
That was the
I
kind
mean,
of like lose
it was,
era, right?
and that was also like a foregone conclusion. But like Michael Bunting, out of
Yeah,
nowhere, this guy, I had not
fantastic.
really heard of him. I heard rumbles. I mean, he was in Arizona, so it's kind of tough for me to know where this guy is from. But man, he brings everything that Leaf fans love and what makes them a fan favorite. Like
Mhm.
the goal scoring. He's scoring in front of the net. He brings just full on pest a-hole moves. Um, to me, I don't know if I'm misremembering him, but he gives me the vibe of like a Darcy Tucker a little bit. I don't know
Oh,
if
that's
that's blasphemy, but I kind of see it if I squint hard enough with my
uh
contact lenses that are really dry.
Yeah, I mean, in the past 2 games, like he's been fantastic too. I mean, this is his back-to-back 2-goal game, right? So yeah, he's been on fire, right? But I think it's just a testament. Our top six has been playing really well. I mean, our top line has been playing really well. Nylander specifically has been fantastic as well, right? You got to give him creds. Even our
Yeah.
bottom six, I mean, that
Lights out.
Camp Engvall line, oh, beauty. I love it. That first goal that we
Yeah.
had in that late in that first
The
period, right?
first, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. That was at that moment in time, that third line only had 2 minutes of ice time, right? And they
Yeah.
made something work in that limited time that they had. Um, I think like offensively, I mean, we just look really good right now. But I want to get your thoughts on that 5-on-5, or sorry, that
Five
five
forward.
forward power play, because it's kind of iffy. I have some strong thoughts on it. I want to get your take first because I don't think I've heard your
Yeah.
take on this yet.
I had a take. So the first period, obviously it resulted in a really bad sod goal.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can blame Samsonov, but still there was no defenseman back. It was
Yeah,
Marner,
yeah.
who was a good defender, but still. Um, but it in that same vein, it worked pretty well in the third period. So I look at it as a good back pocket type, situational thing to pull out. And
Uh-huh.
in the same vein of like pulling your goalie, like it's like, okay, we have five ringers who can put the puck in the back of the net, and they were down. So they were down 5-4 at the time. So I'm like, yeah, you're in a third period. Why not? Go for it. Like, when are you going to get the opportunity to have so you might as well optimize your power play,
Mhm.
short of pulling your goalie. That's another way that you're pulling your goalie with 18 minutes left. Short of doing that, that's a good way that you can, generate extra offense, supercharge the offense. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you could do it. Just I would say not overuse it too much.
Yeah, see, I'm very conflicted on this. On one hand, I like that Keith is kind of testing stuff out and trying to see what sticks. And he's also not just trying it out once and then if it doesn't work, just like scrap it, do something else all over again, right? So I'm happy that he's kind of sticking with it a little bit, giving it time to develop and try to see if he can make it work. But on the other hand, the only reason, in my opinion, that we even started doing this was because Riley was injured, right? Now with Riley back, Riley, I mean, the last couple of years, he's been a huge staple of our power play, right?
Yeah.
He's a big presence there,
Yeah,
and
he's the QB in the back end. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And our power play has succeeded. I mean, we've been really, really good on our power play in the last couple of seasons, right? With Riley back in the lineup, um, I don't see why they need to keep doing this because the thing is I don't think that they run a 5 forward power play in let's say like a stressful playoff series, right? In crunch time, I don't think it works, right?
I don't think they'd have the guts, unless they
Exactly.
were down. But that's my point. If they're trailing, at that point, you know, my philosophy is you got to go for it. You only have so much time left. I think if it's a tie game in a
Yeah.
playoff series, Sheldon Keefe would be like I'd be like something he mentally broke because why is he doing that? He like something happened where he did that
Yeah, I
in a
definitely
playoff series. But if you're down and then you think it's gonna help you supercharge
uh-huh.
and get you that goal, that desperate goal you desperately need, I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. But then again, I like a little bit of chaos in my coffee. I mean, my hockey. Coffee.
Coffee. No,
Well,
I definitely see that, but it's just that like I love Riley on the power play. I mean, you look at last like he is just so good at passing, creating plays as well, and
yeah,
he's just so good, right? Especially I think like getting him back up to speed, and I mean he's just come back from injury, right? People were calling for his head a couple games ago, but yeah, you just try getting him back up to speed again and try to
yeah,
insert him back to the power play because it was working, right? The one like good thing about Keith trying it today was even after they let go of that one goal or that shorthanded goal in the first, like you said, I mean they brought it back in the third and they got a goal off of that. I think even right after that first period goal, there was another power play that the Leafs went on and they went straight back into the 5 forward strategy again. So I
this
guess
is
if it works, I think it's just gonna require a big change in mentality or like how the forwards play. I think like, to make it work, they're just gonna one forward has to stay further back, and they're just gonna
Yeah.
naturally develop the same kind of role that Riley already fills in that. So it's like, is it really gonna work? Is it just gonna go back to just having Riley but not Riley there? It's really weird. I don't know. My thoughts are, I think they should just go back to being normal again.
Just be a normal hockey team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, for me, I'm like, I guess for me, I just like, I like when I see anything different in hockey or like somebody trying something, anything, even if it's silly, I will kind of have a bit of a soft spot for it.
Mhm.
Just because hockey sometimes can be very rigid in all senses, but even on the ice in the way coaches, I mean, there's 35 coaches that are ever hired in the NHL. So when somebody comes in and tries something new, or a player tries a new move, or something that's just off the beaten path, I'm like, it's like a breath, like a big breath of fresh air. So,
Mhm.
but again, situationally, if it's like, leave it as a break glass in a case of we're gonna lose in the first round again, emergency. Okay, like that's what it should be there for. Like, just
Can
just
you
old
imagine
trusty.
if they do that then? Just everyone's gonna call. If it doesn't work out, everyone's calling for Keith's head. What the hell are you doing? Why didn't you just put Riley out there? Blah blah. It's just either it works and you're the savior, or if it doesn't work, you're just gonna get thrown to the wolves, man.
I think if he did that in a high leverage situation and then it ended up in the series being lost, and this is not no exaggeration, I think they got to move the team to Arizona. Like, that's to be the second team in Arizona. That's how bad it would be if they did that. So I'm kind of with you on that point, but it's just go to that. I heard that Tempe arena is going to be really nice. Just move them there, because at that point, what are we doing anymore? Just, that's it. We're over. We're done here. It's just, that would just break. It would break all of our collective brains. I don't think anybody would. I think everybody would just be catatonic.
Yeah.
But let's save the catastrophizing for future for days that are not in January.
But yeah, we got a while to the playoffs. But yeah.
So going back to the Michael Bunting thing, I heard a story. I was reading it. Not sure where it came from. I saw it on TSN, but it looks like the Leafs, going back to Bunting, the Leafs kind of agree, and they see Bunting as a core piece because they are starting the discussions. I don't know, like, to what extent. They might just be like, hey, do you want more money? They probably like called him and said, would you like some more money? And he's like, sure. And that's probably what it was. But, the Leafs don't see Michael Bunting as a potential cap casualty. I think they see him as a core piece.
But how much do you pay him? Right? That's the thing. Right now, I mean, he's making pennies.
That's a tough
right?
one. Yeah.
He's gonna make a ton of money. And how are you gonna kind of make that work unless who are you gonna dump for that? Like seriously, our cap is so tied up in our core group, right? I don't know how they make it work. That's the thing.
They better get it done soon because he's cooking.
Yeah.
He's like, I swear, every time he scores a goal, he should just look up at the press box and be like,
that's why
for those listening, I'm making the finger money sign and pointing it in my palm.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Thumbs up. Yeah, so they got to get that done soon. I mean, he's still pretty young. I think he's like 25, 26. So he's the same age as the other guys. I mean, you'd hope that he gives you, maybe he goes like the really long-term but lower cap hit route. It's probably early to talk about it, but it is going to be a discussion as to whether or not they're going to commit to this guy, or is he going to go the way of a Mikheyev, right? And obviously, I think he's better than a Mikheyev. I think he brings a lot more to the table. He definitely impacts the game in more ways than Mikheyev did. But I guess you'd have to you'd obviously be saying goodbye to Kerfoot. You'd say goodbye to Engvall,
thank God, get Kerfoot out of
I mean,
he's making way too much money for his role. That's all I gotta say.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the player.
It's a captain for sure.
He's really good in spurts, like once every few games, and there's nothing wrong with that role. He can be a great third liner. I mean, he is a good third liner right now, but again, it's getting expensive, and the cap is not going the cap is going up $1 million.
It's ridiculous, and it's funny because I think
it's getting eaten up quickly. Like that's not a significant bump at all.
And Dubas, I think like when he initially signed our core, I mean his assumption was pre-COVID
Yeah,
projections was the cap was going to go up a lot, right?
yeah,
So everything would have worked out. Doesn't Dubas also need a new contract at the end of this year as well?
he does. And I
Yeah,
mean, it,
that's another
yeah,
guy.
that's probably going to be up to him. Actually, I mean, to me, I think that's obviously a first rounder. I think that might just be a condition. I think it's a condition at this point. I think the contract is written up, and it's just conditional on making on making it past the first round. Because if you're the MLSC board, I mean, the board is not one person; it's an amalgamation of people with business interests. Like,
Hmm.
I think you look at like you. There's no way they could sell it to the public to where if they were to knock on wood lose in the first round that you would want to re-up Kyle Dubas
Hmm.
because that's just horrific optics. But if they do, like, I don't think you can get. He's not a perfect GM, but he's a very good one. I mean,
Yeah,
he's had some swings and he's had some misses, but he's had some big hits with Bunting, Camp, of even now Holmberg, right? Like he's really
exactly.
good at like he has the stars, and his skill set now is finding the periphery pieces, and that's what they need, and that's what he's been doing. So I'm okay with it. I mean, again, to me, I'm like, let's just get past that. Well, that's definitely
A
that's
clause in
definitely
there. Yeah.
definitely like he signed it. It's probably signed. It's just like we will shred this if they lose the first round. Like they just have a lighter like just next to it.
No,
But
yeah, I agree. I think he's had a lot of good signings, and especially when it comes to drafting, I think he's been a lot better finding some key guys in the latter picks, right? But yeah, I think they should keep Dubas for a long time. There's gonna be a lot of people knocking at his door if he does
yeah,
decide to leave.
I mean,
But I'm looking at our cap right now, and on Cap Friendly, shout out to those guys.
it's a
But
fantastic site.
yeah, next year, I mean, there are a lot of UFAs that are coming up, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Dubas is gonna have a tough job. Thank God I'm not a GM, man. I'm looking at all these numbers, and like
Does
all
he?
the numbers are all going all over the place. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, 1 million there, 2 million there. What the fuck am I gonna do? So
Does he?
I'm
Does
happy I'm not doing this.
Listen,
But he's
if
in for a
we can
tough
just hope the
job.
NHL implements like unpaid intern policy where they can get a co-op student to like fill the fourth line role because I mean that might be the case. No, I mean to your point before, I think the assumption that the cap was going to go up was a good assumption because
Yeah,
I mean, look,
they had that new TV deal or something right before that
yeah,
too.
you can't. Nobody could have predicted anything like the COVID and
Yeah,
the business, obviously the societal implications, but the business implications on the NHL. Nobody could have predicted that, and human beings are terrible at predicting things in general. But nobody could have predicted that. But to your point, I mean, and to your other point about the roster construction, I mean, we always come back to this because it's always fun to speculate about who can help us. But with the cap being the way it is, this might be kind of like a all or nothing type year. Isn't that the?
yeah.
Sorry, I mean that is the documentary name, but like
Just do another one
again,
this year again.
yeah, like I don't think it's this die. They'll figure it out. I don't think it's not like everyone's gonna leave and we're all gonna be screwed. But it's gonna be tough sledding once the bill comes due next offseason. So, do
Mhm.
you think that maybe that affects their thinking at the trade deadline?
For this year in
Because
particular, or
yeah,
for
because there's a guy named
Mhm.
Connor Bedard. I don't know if you've heard of him,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
is
I mean, he's been lighting it up.
absolutely, absolutely eating the world up.
uh,
I haven't seen a prospect like Anthony Stewart on the broadcast. I'm not sure I agree, but he says he's the best prospect of all time. Now that might be a prisoner of the moment type thing,
mhm.
but that kid's good. So
Oh yeah,
what's
yeah.
gonna happen? What I anticipate is that a lot of these teams towards the bottom are like, screw. They're watching the World Juniors, including the Blues, who we saw today.
Uh,
They're just like, you know, this whole this whole playoffs thing, kind of overrated. Done, tank.
just enter
So
the sweepstakes.
that's what I'm saying. So what does the sweepstakes mean? It doesn't mean you're going to go and tell the players you got to lose. It means you're trading off players. So
Mhm.
in a sense, that could create market conditions to where it's a buyer's market for a contender, perhaps, because you got teams like St. Louis looking to get out, looking to bottom out. I don't know how. I don't think they're probably a little too high up to bottom out.
Yeah.
Chicago is already bottomed out, but I mean,
Mhm.
why not bottom out even more? Arizona, Vancouver, Anaheim.
Yeah.
They all have. I mean, Vancouver. They're probably going to add at the deadline. Those poor fans. But oh man, I feel terrible for them. But with all those sellers, obviously, in simple economics, the price is going to go down. So, maybe the Leafs can go on a bit of a shopping spree.
Yeah, but the problem at the end of the day is I mean, cap, like who are you what are you realistically trying to target, right? Do you
Yeah.
want to like, are you targeting a defenseman? Are you targeting a forward? And what spot do you want them to play in? How much is it going to cost? Are you going to be able to fill that? Is it going to
Yeah.
make a big enough difference, right? There's so many different factors here, and right now, like I mean, our team looks really good. I mean, I have confidence in the guys right now, and I
team.
think, yeah, I think you kind of ride it out with these guys. I don't know. I don't see any like massive, like huge gashes in our lineup, right? Unless there's an injury, right? Obviously, if our team's fully healthy, who do you try to upgrade, right? Do you try to
I would
change
upgrade
Kerr?
on the maybe on the Yarncrook spot. I mean, I know the third line is really good.
Yeah.
You don't want to affect that chemistry, but it's
Oh,
like
you want to change Yarncrook has looked so
Yarncrook is good.
though.
I want to keep him.
Yeah.
I would keep him, but I bump him down.
But then
To me,
at that point,
I
you're
s-
messing up that third line, right? And that third line, I mean, they've played well, like
Yeah.
together, right? When Camp and Envol are together, they're just lighting it up, right? And you saw that earlier on in the season too, when they were split up, looked a little shaky.
Interesting.
Put them back together, boom, they're firing on all cylinders, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
you mess around chemistry, are you doing more good than bad? But it's definitely a valid point though, right? Like that is a spot that they could look to upgrade on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think the defense. I mean, people have said it and they're clamoring for it. I'm like, yeah, in a perfect world, if you could upgrade Justin Hall to Erik Karlsson, yeah, you would. But you're obviously constrained by the limitations of both draft capital and actual money capital, right? So,
Yeah.
that's the idea. I just think that going, beefing it up before the playoffs would be good, but. I mean, it looks like the Leafs are pretty much in a holding pattern. They're absolutely stuck where they are in second place because that the Bruins, man, I don't know. It's not fair.
Oh, they're on something different.
No,
I don't know what's
No, they made a
going
deal
on
with the devil.
them.
There's demonic forces at work.
But
here.
how are they always in this position? Like somehow they always manage to be a great team, and like they have like
the dark
phases
arts? That's what it is. The
it's
dark
just
arts.
like one year they're just like insanely good, then they go back down to like around the top three, and then
Yeah, man,
the next year, bam, they're like the best team in the league again. It's just
Hey,
wild stuff.
I think it's the most overused word in sports, in all sports, like basketball. I'm a fan of other sports, so I like to like bring that into discussion.
Uh-huh.
It's an overused word, culture, like culture,
Mhm.
right? It's identity and culture. It's kind of like in basketball, you had the San Antonio Spurs
Yeah.
for 20 years. The Detroit in hockey again, the Detroit Red Wings were amazing for 25 years, right? In football, the New England Patriots. Now they haven't won as many champions. Down the street, stupid Boston, still in the same city, but Patriots, like the Red Sox, just like down the road again. But again, it's these things that they maintain this culture, and it's just not fair. But at this point, I kind of look back, like, if they weren't competing with us directly, I'd be kind of rooting for them. Not rooting for them, but I'd be like, okay,
oh,
cool.
dude. As soon as I see Marchand, I'm like, if I see him on Team Canada, I'm like, oh, dude, you do you, man. Be a
makes me
pest
laugh, though,
all you want, but as soon as he's against the Leafs, like, oh, I hate you so much.
I hate him so much, but like sometimes I look at him, I can't help but laugh. I'm like, this guy, man.
See, but the thing is, like,
he's so good at what he does.
Yeah, if he was a Leafs player, like the
yeah,
fan base would
statue.
love him. Oh
Statue.
my god, it would be insane. Yeah, you know what's a funny thing? We were talking about these other leagues, like basketball and like winning cultures and whatnot, right? Just imagine if the NHL had like a luxury tax, similar to like the
Yes.
to like the NBA, right? Have like
Yeah,
a soft
know,
cap or whatnot. Because I mean, the Leafs, I think it's not a question. I mean, we're the
Of
richest
course, you would imagine
fucking
that as
team
a
in
Leaf
the
fan,
league,
right?
Yeah, think about what you were talking about bringing in Carlson, throw him in there.
You would.
Throw in the luxury
Yeah, yeah.
tax. It's fine.
Yeah,
Who cares?
you'd have to make it. I mean, yeah. So the NBA, to my knowledge of the cap, they have they have a cap, and then they have a luxury tax to where it's a certain amount of millions, and then there is a final hard cap somewhere way up there. But there's also like really punitive taxes to where even like a Golden State Warriors, and they're in Silicon Valley, they print money, right? They're worth just the team itself is probably worth $10 billion. Even they're like, okay, we gotta tamper back a tiny bit. But of course, as Leaf fans, we're like, yeah,
Just
yeah,
throw
yeah.
money. Give us a cup,
money.
please.
But on our network, Agent Provocateur, Adam Wilde and Alan Walsh, they've been talking about this a lot, and because it's obviously good for the players if there's more money to be spent. Obviously, these players can make more, and arguably people like Matthews and McDavid, who are just so integral into what they bring in so much revenue that they're underpaid, if you can believe that. But in an economic sense, they kind of are. But yeah, I do wish they could, because you could bring in more money to like subsidize the poor teams, to subsidize the Arizonas of the world. But I think it's just sad, because these owners, they just don't like to spend money. That's the thing. They're like, you are making us spend money? Are you kidding me?
Is, like, I kind of honestly, I'm like, I made it as a joke, but like I really would prefer the way that it is right now over like the luxury tax. Maybe push up the cap, obviously, like pay them more. Yeah. But the amount of like, or the disparity in competition in the NBA is insane, because you just top load the heavy teams, right?
I mean, this season it's come back. I mean, I think because the talent has just exploded to more. There's as many contenders right now in the NBA as there are in the NHL. I know we're going a lot off topic, but
think back to like that Golden State and like Cleveland, it was stupid. That was terrible. Right? Stupid.
But yeah.
I mean, you saw Chuck join the the NHL bandwagon. He just started loving hockey too.
I don't like this stuff, Kenny. I'm done with this. I like the hockey. Hockey is better. I love Chuck. But yeah, so well, I mean, out of this game, I mean, I did like the effort. Going back to the game, I liked the effort, honestly, in the third. I think the third, I think we got a little caught up in the negatives of the first two periods and all the hoopla, but I think the third period, man, they played phenomenally. I really did think that, Leaf fans who are watching and are kind of upset, but the game, like, it's good to kind of take bits and pieces. I know moral victories don't count in the standings, but man, they played fantastic in that third. I thought for sure they were winning that game. I was like, nah. Like, there was a few times, and I'm a pessimist to the core to this team, but I was like, they're gonna win this game. And I guess them's the breaks, but they were dominating possession at 5-on-5, just absolutely dominating. And that drunk second period kind of killed them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that carried over into OT as well, right? They started the OT, and I think it was like a shift where the Blues had a line out there for like over 90 seconds. It was like I think it was like close to 2 minutes out there, right? And the Leafs just held possession. They just skated around them, and they couldn't get any great chances. But at least they had possession. They were control and play, right? Obviously, the latter half, it went all over the place, and both teams had a ton of great chances. But yeah, to your point, they continued it, and they played well towards the end of the game. So at least that's something that we can look at. And I mean, Matthews hitting that milestone, 500
right,
points.
Almost forgot.
Yeah, and I mean, the fastest Leaf to hit 500 points. I mean, fantastic stuff. What more can you ask out of this guy? And Marner is just knocking there as well. I think he's at what, 498, 499. He's out there as well, right?
Not to put a negative spin. I mean, these guys, they're gonna go down as the best Leafs of all time. Like, these two guys. I'm sorry, that's just the way it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'd Willie do that. The best. I love Willie too.
Yeah, there's three of them are gonna be the best Leafs of all time, because, I mean, you look at the list. It's not very inspiring. Like, you look at the eras too. It's like, you got Sundin, and then beyond that, you're going to the 70s. You got Sittler, and I'm like, man, like the 70s.
It's way past our generation.
The 70s were 50 years ago, like 50 years ago, half a century ago, right? So it just kind of shows you like the depths to where this team has been. I know we we clamor about all the little things that the team is doing wrong, but sometimes it's good to take a 30,000-foot view and be like, okay, you know,
We
look
have
at where we look at
a
where
couple
we've
special
been,
guys.
right? So
Yeah.
and but you know, Elliot Freeman made a point. I think he was just trying to rile up Leaf fans a little bit. He's like, now he was saying it's opinion wise, but I think it's hard for someone like him to opine things because he is Elliot Friedman. He is the insider, right? So
True.
on the panel, I like listening to these guys, and he's like, this is why I think he will stay elite
Yeah.
because he's gonna be the Leaf. Like he's gonna be the guy, no matter even if they don't win it, even if he never wins the Stanley Cup with Toronto, even if he never does. I hope he does, but even if he never does, he will be the Leaf. When you think of the Leafs 30 years from now, him and his mustache, you're gonna think of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much we can, or there's so much we can say, but it's hard to put it to words, right? I mean, we're living in such a good era. I mean, we're complaining about an OT or a shootout loss when the Leafs are fourth in the league, right? I mean, we're coming off of a great season. I mean, look at last year as well. We're playing good hockey.
The first round, it did psychological damage. It did some damage to us because think about it this way: if they had, because to me, the first round, like 1967, is not the number. Okay, it's not the number because winning a championship in any sport is like very, very hard. Like it's not like every team gets a turn.
Especially
right?
with the NHL, because they keep adding, they've added so many teams
32
as well,
now,
right?
So
yeah,
67. When people make fun of me, I'm like, okay, there's teams that have never won it, right? Canucks never won it, right? I like blanking, but there's a ton of teams that have been around for a long time, never won the cup.
Yeah,
but 2004, that's the one that's what's really like eating at this fan base, because if they would have won a couple of rounds, you know, maybe they win then 2019 first round, maybe they win the second round, maybe they lose to the Hurricanes in the third round. I think that's who they would have played 2019. Maybe they beat Montreal in the bubble. Maybe they go and they play Vegas. They lose to Vegas.
Yeah.
The conversation on this team is totally different. I think everybody is so much more forgiving of all the faults, right? Like you saw this in the beginning of the season. I remember there was a hilarious meme. It was like the Leafs starting 500 and the Raptors starting 500. Now the Raptors have gone the other way, but the Leafs starting 500, the Raptors starting 500, and one of them was Gordon Ramsay with like a child being like, "It's okay, lovely, it's okay." And then that was for the Raptors, and then for the Leafs, it was like, "You fucking donkey!" So it's like because the Raptors obviously have like the memory of winning. In the
it was like what 3 years ago now, right?
Yeah,
so,
but
so
even
recent.
if the Leafs hadn't won I mean, they didn't have to win a championship. Like if they had won a couple of rounds, like they should have. Like at least the Montreal one, people would not have. People, I don't think, would have as much angst.
And I think the biggest thing about that is like they had so much potential, right? Because I look back at the Leafs and the Capitals series. This is back a while now. I think it was like 2017. I think
that was a hard one, man.
That was hard, but they were.
It.
You saw it in like a shell of like, all right, this is the first time we had the kids out there. The kids are there. They're doing great. They made it into the playoffs, and they're giving a fight to the fucking Capitals, right?
I don't think the vibes were ever as good as the spring of 2017.
Exactly.
Fan base.
But it's
like,
just like
I was in the square when Kapanen scored that goal, and it was
beautiful.
Jubilation, because there was nothing negative about that team ever. There was nothing you could say negative, because it's like these guys are 19 years old and they're
babies
going up against
Ovi,
Ovi and Backstrom and everybody else on the team, like Kuznetsov, the whole
gang.
Shebang. And they took it to them, and they almost took them out. And you know, that's when the vibes were great. And then, you know, but
that's when the expectations started, right? Because they were never expected to even make it to the playoffs, right? But you hit the playoffs. What's the next step? Win a round, right?
And they didn't. The problem is they didn't do the linear path of growth that you would expect in a sports team. And you know, I have Daniel here in the chat saying that they outplayed the Lightning last year, could have won. Absolutely. Like,
and think if they won that too.
If they won
all the way to the playoff, all the way to the finals.
I think so. That's what
I still think that they could have beat Colorado.
They had.
I think so.
They had the Lightning.
It was so close. And me and Armand, we covered this on
Yes,
Game
you guys
Over
have started
last
then.
year too. Yeah, it was
I can't
it was
imagine. I can't
what a
imagine. I
series,
can't
man.
imagine.
It
They,
was fantastic. It just
I know
ended in
that
turmoil, right?
that should have been the way the league is. That should have been a conference final. If
Easily.
that should have been a conference final
And that's
because
just the weird way that the league does their whole playoffs. Right? That's another conversation as well, right?
that's my biggest gripe with the league. You can keep the shootouts. That's the biggest gripe is the playoffs. How are you gonna have like? I'm sorry, I know this sounds like sour Leaf fan grapes. Like, oh, Leaf fan. Blah, blah, blah. How are you gonna have a team that what did they finish fourth last season?
The
And then
Leafs?
yeah, you're playing the freaking. Then the Lightning were like sixth, and the Lightning were an elite team.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? Like in other leagues, I know we like to compare to other leagues, but because those leagues are more popular, right? Like in baseball, I mean, baseball is a wacky sport; anything can happen. But still, the top teams get an advantage. It makes the regular season mean something. Basketball, same thing. Football, I think, yeah, football, especially because if you're a top team, you get a bye. Like you don't even have to go to the first round.
Yeah.
So it's obviously there's a different nature of different sports, but the 1-8 was great. Why did you have to touch it? What? Leave it.
And that's another
Like,
factor of like what makes it so hard to win a Stanley Cup, right? I still think like winning a Stanley Cup is probably the hardest thing to do in most sports, right?
I think so.
I seriously think it's the hardest cup to get.
It's just because hockey is just so much variance.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's not like you can count it. It's not like the math is not on your even if you have superstars, like the odds and the math is not on your side. It's not like you can say like in the NFL, oh, our Tom Brady's going to score get 5 touchdowns. We can make this happen. We can reasonably assume that this team's going to score all these points. Hockey is just it's chaos. Even if you have the biggest stars in the league, like the Leafs have, things can go dry like that. But
I mean, look at this. Look at the Blues back in 2019. They were like what bottom of the league, and then somehow they managed to bounce their way back up and make that whole Cinderella run, right? So
I remember that. I know Steve.
Happens.
Steve said in the podcast like they ruined the discourse for everybody going forward because every last place team is gonna be like, hey, remember the Blues?
It's very true.
We can do that too, and it's like no. Vancouver, no, I'm sorry. I don't think they want that anyway. But anyway, listen, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening to us jibber jabber about our Leafs taking the L in the fake hockey game that is the shootout. Who we have next? We have the Seattle Kraken coming to town, getting it cracking. The team that is like, I looked at the standings and I'm like, oh, but they're really good all of a sudden. Like,
who, the Kraken?
Yeah. They're pretty decent, aren't they?
They're what are they doing right now? I actually haven't even like paid too much attention to them. Where are they right now?
You pull that up. I wish I had like someone to pull it up for me.
I mean, dude, I remember.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, 16. Yeah, they're doing all right. They're middle of the table. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean they're in a playoff. I knew I wasn't losing my mind there. Yeah, so it's going to be another tough test to see what they can do. But I mean, good on the Kraken. Just as a side note, like second year in the league already,
especially after that last year where they were horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think they thought that they were going to be they're going to be like, well, look at Vegas. They went to a Cup final. Like, why can't we do that? And it's like your neighbor has a Bentley. Why can't I have a Bentley? Well, you need more money. But I mean, this kind of shows that I think the owners and Gary and the gang are going to keep looking at this and saying, oh, we might have room for more expansion because the talent in the league, there's a lot of talent, I guess. I mean, obviously owners like expansion because it means more money, but more payola. But it's kind of crazy that there's a lot of talent that's just buried on these rosters that can just come out of nowhere and be given this opportunity to have a new lease on their careers, like the entire Vegas squad before they traded everybody and signed everybody and went crazy with it. So they're an interesting team, and we're excited. It's gonna be me and Lauren on, I believe.
Ooh,
Lauren and I.
fun.
Yes, fun times, everyone. But anyway, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in to the game over Toronto. We hope the luck will be better against the Seattle Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys again so much for watching. My name is Fouad Suleiman. You can follow me at Fouad_sports on all the socials.
Yeah, and my name is Harnish, and you can follow me at Harnish98 on Twitter as well. One quick
The
shout
year
out.
he was born. The year he was born.
Exactly. The
think-
year I was born.
I just guessed.
No,
I'm
that's
guessing.
true. That's true. That's true. One quick
Just
shout out though
graduate.
before we finish it off. Good luck to the Canadian team in the juniors tomorrow against the States. That's gonna be fun.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's see if Bedard keeps it
Connor?
going.
Over under like 8 goals for Connor Bedard. Let's go.
Monster.
Just let's go. All
Anyways,
right, everybody.
that's gonna do it from here from us. Good night.
Peace.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.